Hey everybody, it's Lavender Town, and I hope you're somewhere cozy and safe because today I'm doing another Creepypasta. This has been one of my most requested types of videos ever since I released the first one, and I'm sorry you guys have had to wait so long. This Creepypasta is called I'll Never Work a Closing Shift Again, and it's by Charmberry. I hope you enjoy. I used to work for a Subway next to a liquor store along a fairly busy road. I hated the job, but I was only working there on Friday and Saturday evenings to make some extra money. The customers were friendly enough, referring to me as the blue-eyed girl since we didn't have name tags. My coworkers were alright as well, being fun and interesting people, but my boss was a jerk. Luckily I didn't have to see him often because he was only around during the mornings, yet he'd always find a way to make my job more stressful. My boss would constantly say that our store was doing poorly in profits, and would make it so that only one person would be working for hours alone. I have no idea what he was talking about, because whenever I was working, I felt as though every resident in our city would make an appearance at some time during my shift. Luckily I had a coworker with me until about an hour before close, something I was truly grateful for. But that all changed after minimum wage went up. My boss figured he'd save the money he was losing by cutting hours even more. So instead of working with someone until 8:30 p.m. or 9 p.m., I would be alone from 6 p.m. until close, something that worried my mother and boyfriend. They didn't particularly like the thought of me being alone in the store for that long, as I'm a girl. I didn't like the thought of it either, but what could I do? I dreaded the following weekend when the new schedule would be in effect. On Friday, my boyfriend agreed to stay with me until close, but on Saturday he said he couldn't, so I begrudgingly made my way to work for 5 p.m. on that day. I worked with someone else until 6 p.m. and then they left. I was now in the store alone. I was hoping it'd be dead in the store since a football game was on that night, and this proved to be true. Not many people came in. So with the spare time, I started cleaning things early as I knew it was going to take a lot longer to get everything done without anyone else helping me. And I'd bring many empty containers to the back room to wash them, returning to the front whenever I could hear the door alarm go off, signaling that a customer had just walked in. This went on for a couple of hours and I hated every moment of it. I was in the back around 9 p.m. trying to finish washing some things when I heard the door alarm go off. We would be closed in just half an hour, so this was the point in my shift where I truly despised getting any customers. I finished rinsing the bowl I was washing and then reached for a paper towel, walking to the front to greet my unwanted customer. Much to my surprise, no one was there. I didn't see any cars out front, but I looked around the store briefly before returning to the back room. Whoever it was, they must have decided they didn't want anything. Not that I minded. A couple of minutes passed, and then I heard the door alarm go off again. I briskly walked to the front expecting a customer to be standing there looking at the menu, but when I got there, I did not see anyone standing there ready to order. Instead, I found a man sitting at the far end of the store at a back table. He appeared dirty with scraggly hair and mud all over his pants. He looked like he had been homeless for a long time. He tracked some mud in, I could see, and I wasn't happy about it, knowing I'd have to remop the floors. Despite my irritation, I greeted the man. "Hello, sir. Are you waiting on someone or wanting a minute to look over the menu?" He kept looking back and forth, from wall to wall, and occasionally out the window. He almost appeared disoriented, but would look at his phone every once in a while, as though he was expecting a message from someone. He was fiddling with something in his pocket, but wouldn't take it out. Most importantly, he didn't respond to my question, and I was getting pretty annoyed. "Well, we'll be closing in 20 minutes, sir. Please keep that in mind." Again, he didn't respond. Just kept looking everywhere and anywhere but towards me. With an irritated sigh, I walked to the back room and began preparing the mop bucket, filling it with water and floor cleaner. This probably took about 2 minutes. Once it was ready, I wheeled it towards the front and quickly noticed that the man wasn't there anymore. He couldn't have left the store, however. I would have heard the door alarm go off if it had been opened. I grabbed my mop and looked towards the ground, where I noticed the set of muddy footprints was heading towards the bathroom door. Great, I thought to myself. I'll have to mop the bathroom again too. I began mopping the trail leading toward the table where the man had sat, and then all the way towards the bathroom door. As I finished cleaning the floor directly in front of the door, I heard faint muffled cries of someone on the other side. I leaned in until my ear was almost pressed against the door itself and listened silently. I could hear quiet sobs mixed with some words like "no" and "I can't." What on earth was going on in there? I took a step back as quietly as I could and then was surprised by the sound of the door being unlocked. I immediately jumped away with the mop in hand and was a good 10 feet away when the door opened. The man emerged and stood there for a couple of moments when he saw me standing there. Then for the first time, he looked me straight in the eye. This sent a chill down my spine. I held the mop nervously, almost defensively. His stare was blank and yet somehow sorrowful. He didn't say anything and quickly walked out the front entrance, setting off the door alarm. I turned and saw him make his way down the road, never looking back. I took a breath, loosening my grip on the mop, and looked back towards the bathroom door. I reached for the handle and slowly opened the door, quickly peering around the inside before actually entering. When I walked inside, I found a giant muddy mess all over the floor, as though the man had been walking in circles there. I sighed and quickly mopped up the filth, and turned to leave when I noticed the garbage can lid was on the ground beside it. I reached for it, bending over the can itself in order to retrieve it when I happened to notice something shining inside. I could feel my face grow pale when I reached in and retrieved the open switchblade. The only other thing in the can was a crumpled piece of paper. I reached for it and slowly opened it. The words on it still haunt me to this day. 435 Wilson Road, brunette, blue eyes, Saturday 9 p.m., $1,200. I closed the store early that night. I didn't finish washing the dishes, and I didn't bother sweeping or mopping the back room. I just locked the door, put the food away, counted my drawer, and left. I quit the next day. I told my mom about what had happened, and she called the police. I gave them my description of the guy, as well as the knife and the note I had found. They thanked me for my information and told us they'd do what they could to find the guy. My mom still freaks out about it and won't let me get another job. I don't go out as often, and I feel nervous every day. I always feel as though I'm being watched or hunted. I still wonder about that note sometimes, but in all honesty, I don't want to know. Whoever wrote it, whoever wanted to hurt me, I don't want to know. I may never know anyway, but one thing I do know is I'll never work a closing shift again. That was my reading and illustration of I'll Never Work a Closing Shift Again, a creepypasta by Charmberry. I don't know about you guys, but I'm guessing the hit was done by the boyfriend or the boss. I think the sketchiest part about this is that the boyfriend agreed to come with her on Friday but couldn't come on Saturday, and there was no reason given why. But maybe that's just my wild speculation. I love mysterious creepypastas because then you can continue to think about them even after they're over. If you have a favorite creepypasta you'd like me to illustrate and read, please tell me about it in the comments section, because I literally read through probably about 50 creepypastas trying to find one that suited my channel, so it would be a huge help if you guys have one that you already know of that you think would be a good fit. If you haven't seen it before, you should check out the first creepypasta I did. I'm really proud of it. It's still one of my favorite videos I've ever done. And it's about two boys in the woods who take a little camping trip together, and something goes a little bit wrong. They're not even very far from their home, and yet it seems like they can't find their way back, and there's something scary out there. So if that sounds like your type of thing, please check it out. And hey, about the last video I posted, there's been a lot of really spirited critique and discussion about Elsa and Disney and how they do their designs and all the reasoning behind it, things you agreed with and didn't agree with my new redesign, and I just wanted to say I really appreciate how respectful most of you guys have been with your critique, and I think it's all super interesting. I've learned a lot about Frozen just from hearing all of your guys' really passionate discussion about Frozen and Elsa and what the main themes of the movie actually are. So I'm going to take that with me in the future when I do more Disney videos. I'm going to be more careful about really studying the film before I start it, and I'm really glad that so many of you enjoyed it, and yeah, thank you so much for being such a great community. I really appreciate you staying all the way to the end of the video. I hope this story was sufficiently spooky and that you enjoyed it, and I will see you next week. Stay safe out there. Big thank you to my patrons, including Muffins McGee, Paynamel, Adrian Delport, Chartype, Den, Brock, Juan Alvarez, Lib, Adrian Morales, Big Coffee Pony, At Liv Likes to Draw, Kate Meatkins, and Weathered Mug.